on and try to grab those points to represent North America in a year where we already know the competition is going to be stiffer than ever. Only one team is going to get all the way to the finals for the year based off the merit of their points. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your host throughout the entirety of the day. I got Zico, Suptis, Sven Ruki with me, and this is just a matchup that's very tough to call. You have the move that they have to be somewhat disappointed thus far, only 40 points for them. And then you got the Super Frogs that are kind of hanging out with 120 points. We're getting right into the action here in Channel.
Who could have asked for anything better? Look at the names in this first game. Cubsy, Chanimal, Snuts, legendary. I think decades at this point between Snuts and Chanimal in the game. Absturge, Peekaboo, WizK. You couldn't ask for a better game one.
This is what you want too. Chan is finally coming in, and we get to see Snuts on a Warlock with Chan's, Snuts on the Rogue with Chan's Warlock, and then we actually get to see the Shadow Priest and the Rogue coming out from the move. Let's see who can take it.
Yeah, and Snuts is going to get focused down by WizK and Peekaboo very early on. Ironbark's already going to be committed, as well as Cubsy's Trinket. Nicely done by the move, getting some early aggression.
All right, let's see what they can get done here. Super Frogs stealing Storm's composition that we saw last week with Maldiva, Nesper, and Metaphors. Let's see if they can outdo Storm here against the move. Of course, the move playing the classic Rogue, Shadow Priest, Shaman that we know and love them for. Peekaboo, WizK synergy. Nice job catching Snuts a little bit overextended, bursting him down and pulling priority cooldowns from his arsenal. The move have a good opportunity to kill Snuts. He's got to get ready for it, but now Chanimal looking to counter-aggress. Grounding Totem from Absturge denies all of Chanimal's attack. The move are setting up for a great position.
This is looking like a repeat of when we saw the move go up against Nesper and Maldiva last week. Snuts going to be pushing in, using the Fan of Knives talents to get additional pressure on all three members of the move, and they need to make sure that they're not focused up, they're not spread up behind the pillar, so Snuts is getting full value out of that. A lot of pressure on Snuts, getting lower. Gladiator safeguard procs as Snuts uses his Vanish. He's playing human with the Trinket, and I think it would be better for Snuts to be relentless in this specific matchup. These stuns wouldn't be nearly as scary, so maybe a better Trinket choice, especially since Snuts is opting to sit through so many of these stuns.
Last week we saw Maldiva as the priority target for the move on Warlock. This time around, the move have switched that up and going after the Rogue. However, in this case, that Rogue is Snuts. Snuts has not been caught off guard just yet, but he's burned through a lot of his defensives to trade. And now on the next exchange, Cubsy needs to be the one to save the day. Will he be able to handle it despite the pressure that the move are dishing out? I'm curious to see if Absturge's mana can be on par with Cubsy since those recent mana changes. Peekaboo under an assault here currently by the Super Frogs as they look to leapfrog a game one, but Peekaboo easily walks it off, moves forward, secures crowd control for the team, and now sets up for the win. And this is a situation that relies on Cubsy. He's very far away. Trinket's a sap, but the Trinket might be a little bit too late. Snuts taking heavy fire here from the move in game one. 16 more seconds to that Cloak of Shadows on Snuts. The Super Frogs rotate and they stay alive. However, the next kidney shot, there is no way for Cubsy to guarantee safety. There's no way for Snuts to guarantee safety. So Chanimal has to be the defensive goalkeeper for the team to keep them alive during that attack. And the move know they've got Super Frogs in checkmate, so they're opting to retreat away and reset their health, make sure they're safe, and go for a big push. Snuts needs to be ready for it.
Yeah, Peekaboo always impresses me with his cooldown timing. He just does a really good job making sure he's always using his sprint, his Vanish, his blind at proper time, so we can always get the Vanish sap out of the blind.
Here it is.
Crossing the map at proper moments. Silence on Cubsy with a kidney shot on Snuts. Do they have the damage to take him down? And no, it doesn't look like it. Faint Ironbark going to deflect easily through the Vendetta of Peekaboo. Now Chanimal's in midfield looking for some damage as Peekaboo makes a swap onto Cubsy. Bash from Cubsy. Going to slow down that attack from the move. And it looks like all three members of Super Frogs are feeling super healthy.
That was the window the move have been setting up for minutes now, and it got completely diffused with Chanimal's peels, buying Cubsy enough time to time his Ironbark to stabilize Snuts. And now this means that the Super Frogs have a big lead to start pushing forward, and they are trying to take advantage of that to secure a mana win later in the match. I would like to see potentially Absturge looking for drinks, but Chanimal smartly is sending his Fell Hunter, a demonic Fell Dog, to chase down Absturge, keep him in combat, and deny him from starting a drink. And so long as Chanimal has good micromanagement on his Fell Hunter to deny drinks, Super Frogs are looking good.
Yeah, Peekaboo had a really nice distract there as well. A lot of rogues don't know exactly what to do with that ability.
And all in.
PvP, all in on Cubsy. Stun into silence. Will he be able to escape? Barskin does get pulled out, but I think Cubsy should be okay behind the pillar. Peekaboo's going to be chasing him down. But as I was saying about distract, a lot of rogues don't know exactly how to use it, but Peekaboo implementing it there to stop the drink, and I think that's really intelligent. It's not going to allow Cubsy to sneak away and get those drinks nearly as easily.
All right, blind sap initiated by Peekaboo, and that's normally a scary moment, but the move are under so much pressure that they couldn't get anything rolling off the back of that, and Cubsy easily shakes it off. Now WizK on the back foot trades Disperse to soak up Chanimal's gigantic chaos. Well, that would have likely killed him if he didn't respond. We saw him flop over against Maldiva last week, so he's definitely respecting that destruction Warlock damage here in game 1. As we move to dampening, Cubsy is securing a mana advantage here by being able to sneak away from the fight, prowl and drink. He's invisible to his opponents and gets a massive lead.
Yeah, that is a nightmare for the move. They've done a really good job shutting down the drinks, but a good druid like Cubsy, eventually he gets away, uses Shadow Meld, gets a full drink. And now is the move. You got to be throwing your hands up in the air in frustration because that is not the spot you wanted to be in. Absurge actually had a little bit of a mana lead, but now that's completely gone. In the move, they're going to have to find another window of opportunity because I don't think Absurge is ever going to get down to sit and drink in this game.
Although we did see Greggy in Europe and Lone Tar and Restoration Shaman heal with basically nothing in the tank, so potentially Absurge has opportunity still in this fight, but it's definitely not looking good with 2 members below half health, no Healing Tide Totem and no Ascendance. Those are important area of effect healing spells, so healing multiple targets is what area of effect means, and he doesn't have access to do it, so he has to power single target healing. That costs a lot of mana and a lot of time, and I'm not sure if he's got either of those to his name. The Super Frogs edge further and further ahead in this match. Snuts going for a triple Garou play, trying to boost his damage up immensely, really leading the charge for his team. There were a couple openings for the move early on in this match, but now I don't see any openings for quite some time, and they just don't have that time.
Yeah, they definitely don't. WizK getting lower, Peekaboo as well. Absurge really has to play catch-up here, but like I said, when the move groups up behind the pillar, Snuts gets full advantage of those Fan of Knives, can spread poisons to everyone, put Rupture on everyone as well. It's a lot of damage. WizK charging in, looking for some crowd control on Cubsy, but like you kind of mentioned, Sid, although Cubsy, he got a full drink, he's already used half of that mana, whereas Absurge, he's kind of coasting. He's been sitting at around 40-30% for quite some time, keeping his team alive, not fully healthy, but they are still in it.
Peekaboo getting bursted down. Chanimal as well. It's definitely an even fight in terms of pressure. You can tell WizK on that Shadow Priest is dealing devastation, and of course Chanimal on Warlock. Who are you going to expect other than him to be dealing tons of pain? Both teams will be in trouble as we move deep into dampening. They face elimination in the lower bracket. Winning this blind pick could be pivotal to have the swing match advantage for the rest of the series. There's a lot on the line in game number 1. Huge attack here initiated against Peekaboo. He's able to feint, soak up some more hits. Grounding Totem again by Absurge, denying a Chaos Bolt. Those grounding totems are going to be key for Absurge to carry the team, but now he's locked down in crowd control. Snuts is actually the one lower on the exchange. Peekaboo as well. Both rogues in trouble, and things are only going to get more interesting.
Yeah, it definitely gets scary as dampening gets higher and higher. We're at 17% right now. Kitty shot on Peekaboo. Does Chanimals have any damage? No, WizK, he charges midfield, wants to shut down this drink. Cubsy cannot be allowed to get another full reset. I like what WizK is doing, but it is a little bit of a risk being in midfield. Snuts realizing it. WizK used his fade. A lot of pressure incoming from Chanimals with his Infernals. Blind on the Absurge. He trinkets out. No trinket available for him. Kidney shot now on WizK. This could be the dispersion. Immediately activating it. And WizK is using that defensive to just avoid damage. That means Absurge doesn't have to heal through that damage and can continue to have that mana for a later date.
Yeah, premeditative move by WizK, and I think that's exactly what he needed to do, although now he's an open target. There's tons of Chaos Bolts flying in towards the move. All 3 members low on health, and once again, no Healing Tide Totem, no Ascendance. This is not going to be easy for Absurge. Snuts is dogpiling on top of all 3 members, and at any point, they could simply fall over. Absurge needs a couple more seconds, 4 more seconds, and the Super Frogs are giving it to him. Snuts is reluctant to push in. Why is he not just pushing in? They have cooldowns to trade. They just need to move forward and execute for a kill. Now finally making the push, but now Absurge will have an answer. He can place that Earthen Wall Totem. Likely needs to do it soon. Interrupting the Chaos Bolts. It's all about Absterge. He has to stop every single Chaos Bolt. Even one Chaos Bolt in dampening is going to close the match, likely. No Infernals at least. He's going to have a little bit of breathing room. Maledict attack here towards WizK, soaking up even more of Absterge's healing, costing him even more mana, but suddenly Cubsy is tapped on mana. There's still some hope despite all three members just getting crushed under the weight of Chanimals and Snuts.
Yeah, Snuts just charging in. Look at this. 2v1 on Absterge and WizK, keeping up the pressure. Peekaboo looking for a re-stealth here. Chanimals getting lower, but Cubsy's mana is not doing well. Absterge still has a little bit left. Full kidney shot now, and Peekaboo gets life grip there by WizK to keep him alive. He gets behind the pillar to avoid some of that Destro Warlock damage, but Chanimals, he's just been posted up. Cubsy looking for a drink. Absterge charges midfield, drops the totem, shuts it down. Now Chanimals is the one that's in trouble, but he still has the unending resolve, his major defensive cooldown. Dispersion's rotated back up for WizK, so he's feeling healthy, but Absterge's mana almost completely zeroed out, as well as Cubsy. Really anything could happen in these last few moments.
Here Peekaboo is locked down as Snuts looks to close. Chaos Bolts are flying, but they're flying towards WizK and not Peekaboo during that stun lock. Chanimal making a missed target there. Maybe just wants to create pressure in multiple locations. Double Mortal Coil. They're trying to set up for the win on the back of the Cataclysm. Peekaboo is just so dangerously low and still trying to keep his team going here. Smoke Bomb gets dropped in desperation, but Snuts is unfazed. He's just going to attack through it. He doesn't even seem to mind. Thorns is up. Peekaboo can't keep attacking. WizK is pinned down at the pillar, but they left Peekaboo behind. He's actually able to shadow step back defensively. Absterge once again, the god of Shaman, somehow keeping this going with 0 mana despite pressure at 3 points, but Cubsy in the meantime has them in checkmate. He's so far away, they can't deny his drink. He's going to reset entirely back to full mana at 34% dampening. Snuts is still a bit vulnerable. Cubsy, he didn't reset his mana? How did Cubsy not get mana off the back of that drink? Now he's actually not completely out of the woods, but Chanimal with huge Chaos Bolts here. Absterge denies it. Everything's still on Absterge to keep blocking these Chaos Bolts as long as possible. Another Chaos Bolt incoming. No grounding totem. Connects to WizK. Now the Infernals have landed and Chanimal is likely to close.
Yeah, WizK gets a really nice Master Spell on that Mortal Coil. Beautiful plays, freeing up Absterge in these final moments. Full blind on Chanimals. Peekaboo having to play so defensive as all three members of the move are rotting down. Snut smells blood in the water. He wants to finish out this game, pushing in with the Phantom Knives, keeping him low. But Absterge, with the Ascendance, manages to keep his team afloat. Can they take him down? Now, Snut's caught into a kidney shot. No Cloak of Shadows or evasion. Snuts could be in a little trouble. Cubsy's mana almost completely zeroed out once again. Chanimal's now finally pushing in, looking to close out this game, but still, this is such a scary moment for both teams.
WizK's got that Vampiric Embrace. He's supporting the team for a couple of seconds and trying to just keep them in the fight. The move have been in this position time and time again in tournaments, extending the game despite it looks like they've got their backs against the wall. They still somehow pull off miracles. We've seen it against Method Orange, and we may quite possibly see it against the Super Frogs, as the Super Frogs have had a gigantic lead, but are struggling to close out the fight. They catch Peekaboo. Chanimal goes for the Cataclysm. That hits 3 members. There's a blind on Absterge. There's no way out. There's nothing left. How are they going to stay in it? Somehow they're staying alive despite Absterge being crowd controlled for such an extended period of time. The Mortal Coils connect. Chanimal just needs to push them the tiniest bit over the edge to take this match, but they just can't close. Peekaboo holding on by a thread. Spirit Link Totem comes up in the nick of time, and somehow the move are staying in it. Snuts is becoming increasingly vulnerable. Cubsy is now tapped on mana. It's still anyone's match.
Yeah, Snuts in a lot of trouble. He doesn't want to push in out of line of sight. Cubsy looking for a drink. Chanimals trades out the unending resolve, but Super Frog's just as vulnerable. Peekaboo caught into the Cheap Shot, using the Fade to stay alive, kiting around the pillar. Silence on Chanimal. WizK forced to use all his crowd control defensively in this situation. Snuts, though, he is walking a dangerous line right now. Still pushing in, looking for the Fan of Knives spam, but he is not getting topped off by Cubsy. Shadow Step, kidney shots.
Really?
Getting low. Chanimal's getting low. WizK low. He gets interrupted. Nicely done by Chanimals. Now full kidney shot on Peekaboo. Absterge, nothing left. Life grip by WizK. Beautiful fear. Somehow the move manages to stay alive.
How are they still alive? Cubsy's Innervate came up. He's starting to stabilize for free, but Snuts is still low. Peekaboo's low. Anyone can fall. Maledict connects. That's going to soak the heal. Are the move going to pull off the miracle here? WizK holds on. Absterge is just casting lightning bolts. He doesn't have mana to do anything else. May as well do some damage. No way! Bolt no way! Smoke Bomb gets dropped. The move against the wall. against the wall, almost start to finish against the Super Frogs. Stay alive just long enough to show that they've still got it here. Of course, Chanimal wants to play it out with Abster's totally tapped out mana this deep in Tampany. You can't really blame him, but with Peekaboo constantly interrupting him, I think it's unlikely as Abster stabilizes the team, and somehow they've done it.
The Kings. Honestly, normally you expect to see Sea-Doo give us those kind of heart attacks on the Restoration Shaman, but Absurge keeping them alive. You have to give massive credit for Peekaboo and WizK as well, helping him out defensively. And I honestly, I counted the move out at that point in the game, but they managed to pull off an incredible victory.
The thing is, too, is with the Super Frogs, too, you know, you're getting ready out of that match and you're just about to be like, okay, history repeats itself every single time that Chanimal actually gets broken out by this roster. Every time he's used on the Warlock, they win. And it looks like it's going to be that case again. And Zico, the move managed to hold on somehow and take this first game.
I don't know how. Honestly, I see Infernals dropped by Chanimal. He's pushing in. There's 2 Mortal Coils flying in. No, WizK is going to go behind the pillar, mass dispel both of those coils. Absturge is going to find some mana left somewhere in his back pocket. He's going to pull out the Ascendance, stabilize his team time and time again. Spirit Link, just perfect defensive cooldown usage, and WizK as well when he grips Peekaboo in that stun behind the pillar just to give him that extra second. The double fears with the Vampiric Embrace, and Peekaboo finding an opportunity towards the end here onto Snuts with that smoke bomb. Just unbelievable, honestly. I've seen the move do this so many times, even in last season in Legion, but every single time it's just as impressive, it's just as surprising, because this shouldn't happen. This is like, it just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I believe that is actually what we call the move when we see that moment. But it's so funny because we look at some of the NA teams that I feel like, you know, you have so many people in chat actually coming in to watch these squads, and they just give everybody a heart attack every time. Like you mentioned, Method Orange, you look at the move, like these are teams that consistently win games like this. They thrive in moments like that. But when we look at the Super Frogs, we look at some of the compositions that they have, we're talking about them being very meta. And all of a sudden, we get to the same place that we were at last year, where you look at the move and you go, are their comps really meta right now? Zico, how do you think that they do fare with everything that we've seen so far with this second tournament?
Well, this patch buffed the move. Like, with the mana region nerfs, some healers got hit harder than others because some healers were already nerfed before, and then they got nerfed an additional mana region nerf. Now shamans, they were already nerfed pretty heavily, so this patch only nerfed their mana region by about 20%. That's why we see these shamans being able, without drinking, to go to 40-50% dampening, and Absturge is just doing a phenomenal job on this Rest Shaman. And I think that what I wanted to see actually from Super Frogs was Snuts plays Shadow Priest, Chanimal plays Warlock. Yeah. I wanted to see Shadow Priest Warlock.
Build on Assassination Rogue last week. He built his class entirely around Fan of Knives, taking Azerite traits that buffed it as well as Honor talents. And I'm not actually sure that Snuts is running that build, which may be why his damage is so low when the team, the move, retreat and stack up, because that's why you run the Fan of Knives. If the enemy team hides from your Destruction Warlock and stacks up, then you hit Fan of Knives on 3 targets, you max out your damage, and you finish them off. And if Snuts isn't running that same build as Nesper, he's losing out on a huge potential for damage.
Now, last year, both of these teams got off to relatively slow starts. Super Frogs stagnated in their pond, and the move absolutely went to the moon. They have an incredible year. They make it all the way to the Grand Finals at BlizzCon, an NA versus NA Grand Final. The Super Frogs, though, this year, they get the strong start. Are they going to be able to tie up this series?
I think Snuts is running the Fan of Knives build. You can see every time he does a little disco spin and a ton of knives start flying out, he's going to be dishing out tons of damage. So when the team, the move, try and retreat and line of sight Chanimal, Snuts will max out his damage. If they try and play a midfield and attack Chanimal, then Chanimal will max out his damage, and it holds the enemy team in a position where they've got a tough move. What do they do? Do they think that Chanimal's more of a threat? Is Snuts more of a threat? And this could be the X factor that the Super Frogs need to close this match out in game number 2 here on Ashmane's Fall. We see Chanimal initiating an attack here, smartly using Rain of Fire to increase his damage through Grimoire of Supremacy. Every soul shard he spends increases the damage of his next Chaos Bolt. Rain of Fire is an instant cast way to buff the the next Chaos Bolt, so you can't be prevented. Now going for a Mortal Coil play, he baits the interrupt with a Fear, goes for a gigantic Chaos Bolt that Peekaboo knew was going to be massive, and Cloak of Shadows before it hit. If he did not do that, I actually think Peekaboo would have been erased in that second. Quick decisions by Peekaboo.
Yeah, kidney shot on Chanimals. He's getting lower. Is he going to use the Unending Resolve? Unfortunately, not able to force it out. Cubsy went for a drink, got him up. Snuts actually opting to play Relentless in this matchup, and I think that's going to allow him a little bit more freedom to push in, play aggressive, and not be scared he's going to get caught in these long crowd control chains like the kidney shot behind the pillar. DR kidney shot coming in from Peekaboo right now, but the pressure, like you said, Sid, with Snuts playing this potentially new build is a lot higher, and I can't see the move going at such a late game in this matchup if they're hiding like this, but it feels like they really don't have many other options.
Yeah, that Flying Daggers build is doing a lot of pressure here, and in dampening it might be unhealable. Chaos Bolt Maledict combo on Peekaboo as Super Frogs look to close early on against the move. Absturge keeps it a level head and saves the day with that Spirit Link totem, but a costly cooldown in an early exchange puts the move behind.
Yeah, Chanimals has to be careful. We see him playing much more aggressive in this matchup, but that also opens him up to these swaps from the move, and if they can find the crowd control, they can definitely take him down. But this Flying Daggers build, like you said, Peekaboo rotting down, WizK rotting down, Absturge 50% mana, and we have not even stepped foot into dampening.
All right, Snuts is doing a lot of damage this round. This adaptation on his part with that Assassination Rogue is pivotal. Peekaboo cannot get that same benefit because Cubsy can so easily heal far away from the team. That Destruction Warlock pins the enemy team at the pillar, stacking them up perfectly for this Assassination Rogue build, which is why we normally don't see the Rogue Warlock, at least not for some time, but in this particular setup, it's quite devastating as Snuts catches Absturge around the corner, going on a solo mission. They are desperately trying to avoid Chanimals' line of sight as Chanimals is looking to get back there as quickly as he can, but he's snared up and it's having quite a hard time connecting. I can only imagine rooted behind the pillar. Peekaboo looks like he's maybe trying to get something going here, attacking Snuts' Maledict combo. Good damage, but Snuts is going to be able to deflect with that feint. Peekaboo now caught into a kidney shot, blind on Absturge. Absturge responds, but gets garroted on his trinket by Snuts. MVP play here, manages to pull Cloak of Shadows on top of this cooldown stack, and Super Frogs are really asserting dominance in game 2.
Yeah, Snuts using that Vanish, getting Garrote Silence on Absturge and WizK. It's also going to be empowering the damage of that Garrote. So look for that in this matchup to really just keep the spread pressure going. Cubsy sits down for a drink once again, full reset on his mana. And honestly, in the last game, the move, they pulled off a miracle. I really don't think this is a matchup that they should be winning, but if they can hold on a little bit longer and dampening stacks high enough, I think they can find windows of opportunity. But Snuts is going to be so incredibly tanky with the Relentless, with Cubsy sitting really far away, just not getting crowd controlled whatsoever in this matchup. I just don't know how Snuts is going to go down.
Infernals have landed. Chanimal again smartly using Rain of Fire to boost the damage of the next Chaos Bolt. A lot of Warlocks will use Chaos Bolt to buff the next one, but it's so easily prevented that you deny your ramp so heavily, so Chanimal is doing a more efficient route. He baits the interrupt again with Fear. He's got Dark Soul lined up. This Chaos Bolt could be huge. One Chaos Bolt towards Peekaboo. He's going to duck around the corner. If Chanimal can get another one in a couple seconds, it might be enough to close the game out. Absturge has Grounding Totem coming off cooldown. Chanimal can't get in line of sight. He's going for it. He gets life gripped out of line of sight by WizK. They know how threatening Chanimal is in that window. They've definitely done their homework against Destruction Warlocks, and they deny Chanimal once again.
Yep, that was Absturge's Ascendance, so he got a lot of additional healing for his entire team. That basically spreads out his heals over everyone and allows him to top from these spread pressure situations. But now that that's gone, dampening is kicked in. Absturge is going to have to hold on tight until he gets that cooldown back up once again. Kidney shot now committed over on a WizK. Peekaboo actually trying to make a play here with Vendetta, but really not accomplishing too much. Super Frog still completely fine.
I mean, Cubsy's basically taking a sabbatical 40 yards away from the fight, taking a chill pill, just keeping a couple hots up on Chanimal and Snuts, and whenever they're in danger, requesting them to pull back. This does look to be quite a favored matchup for the Super Frogs. They've been in the driver's seat throughout game 2, but the move, they're used to this position. They're used to being the underdogs in a fight, constantly with their backs against the wall. This is where they love to live, and right now they're initiating a counter assault towards Chanimal, looking to pull powerful defensive cooldowns with multiple Maledicts, soaking up all of Cubsy's healing, but only finding Iron Bark is not the objective that they were really hoping for in this attack. They wanted that unending resolve, potentially going to get it. No, Shadow Step away by Peekaboo, avoiding that that Chaos Bolt at all costs. Now a Smoke Bomb attempt here towards Snuts to try and force even further pressure. Knowing that Iron Bark isn't available for Snuts, they switch targets to try and pull more defensives from a different target. Interesting moves there by the move, but not really enough to execute for a kill. Super Frogs have the mana lead. Their cooldowns are looking stable. Now deeper into Dampening, I want to see them coordinate all three members with a Demonic Gateway, get on top of the enemy team and finish them. If they can't execute for a kill, then the move might squeak another opportunity.
That kidney shot on Peekaboo as he gets a little bit low. Chanimal's still trying to move in and look for some damage. They're looking for those Cataclysms. Cataclysm's an effective Warlock spell. You can see it right now. Place it on the ground. And honestly, the move has done a great job interrupting that. Chanimals gets a lot of spread pressure from that ability. He gets to put Immolate on all three targets if he lines it up correctly. And that is just a great way for him to get some damage rolling for his team.
WizK pre-fading, expecting an incoming stun, but not finding it. Mana still in favor of Super Frogs, but we've seen Shamans and Mistweavers actually able to outdo Druids, even Druids drinking into Dampening. So Abstract still has some opportunities the longer that they can hold on, so long as they prevent that window of opportunity for Chanimals, which is available. That purple icon and the green icon below his health, that's Call Infernal. He's just activated the Infernals. Now he's used Rain of Fire to boost his damage. Now he looks to pair that up with the purple icon Dark Soul. And if you can combo that together with a Chaos Bolt, it will do gigantic damage. So Peekaboo, WizK need to avoid Chanimal during this window of time, but they've managed to hold Snuts out in the open. Chanimal lines up for even higher stack damage. He tries to fake cast the Shadow Step kick, but Absurge is still there with the Wind Shear. Chanimal needs to get this Chaos Bolt. They're going to make a swap. Peekaboo knows that that could end his life. Trinkets and trades Cloak of Shadows, completely respecting that Destruction Warlock space, but now Chanimal may be overextended as they try and take him out.
Yeah, he uses the Fireblood Racial on that Dark Iron Dwarf to reduce Maledict, but two more flying at him. He has to use the Unending Resolve as Cubsy is caught into a silence. Chanimal still could be a little bit vulnerable here, but I think he should recover. That was a nice push from the move. They got Cubsy's Trinket, Chanimal's Fireblood Racial. They got Unending Resolve. This is looking good. Snuts getting low, trading out the Cloak of Shadows. And I feel like the move, if they can find one more offensive push on Chanimals, if he overextends, they could definitely take him down. But Peekaboo, increasingly vulnerable. Void Shift has to be traded out by WizK. That's one of the move's major defensive cooldowns. WizK swapped his health for Peekaboo to keep him alive. And now, as the game goes on, they are not going to have that available.
They mind control Snuts behind the corner. Nice moves here by the move as they try and pull off a miracle. They go after Snuts behind the pillar. Chanimal saves the day with a double Shadow Fury while Cubsy was silenced up. Good support from Chanimal. You can tell that all 6 members in this game know exactly what they need to do at any moment to save the teammates and deny a kill and extend this fight to any opportunity that they can get deeper into Dampening. But it's just an inevitability at this point. If Dampening is high enough, healing will just simply not save you. And that's what we saw the move take advantage of in game number 1. Peekaboo under heavy fire with Chaos Bolts flying, and this is where the Flying Daggers build of Snuts is going to start paying off. These Fan of Knives applying poisons to multiple targets and dealing huge damage is going to become increasingly difficult over time.
Yeah, Chanimals could be in some trouble here. Vendetta is available for Peekaboo. Who are they going after? It looks like Snuts is going to be the main target as he pulls out Evasion. Kidney Shot on WizK. Absurge trades out the Spiritling Totem. Really not too much left in terms of defensives. And this is not the best spot for the move to be. Chanimals and Snuts now have a get out of jail free card with that gateway. If they ever feel like they're in trouble, like right now, Chanimals, he gates away. Peekaboo is going to be chasing him though as they look to make their final push of the game. Cubsy really doesn't have too much to respond. If they can keep up this pressure, it could be scary. Peekaboo now spreading some pressure over onto Cubsy, realizing his mana isn't great, but he can't leave WizK and Absurge alone for too long.
They've got Earthen Wall Totem, but it's in line of sight of Chanimal. He's lining up a couple of Chaos Bolts, gets blinded on the Chaos Bolt cast. Peekaboo doing everything in his power to just make Chanimal's life so difficult to close the game. The move continued to deny the Super Frogs and edge closer into Dampening to maybe execute for a kill. Snuts dips low, trades Cloak of Shadows, goes for a counter attack. Peekaboo respects that space, desperately trying to line of sight, but those Infernals have landed. Chanimal's going to be ramping up once again. Can the move deny Chanimal's ramp? They need to stay out of his line of sight. Ursul's Vortex is holding the move in place. This is a nice decision by Cubsy to place that for Chanimal to get closer to his opponents. They go for the Maledicts. They've got them in a chokehold. They've got the massive advantage. They have everything in their favor. They just need to go for the final push and close this game out. Can Absurge deny it?
I have no idea. It would be a complete miracle at this point in the game. Cubsy's feeling healthy. He's pushing in. All 3 members of Super Frogs, they want to end this game. Absolute with basically no mana left. We saw him hold on for such a long time, but with that full blind kidney shot on WizK, that is the setup the Super Frogs needed in game number 1. And that was a completely one-sided matchup.
I do think, though, this is a series that very easily could go all the way to a Game 5. And, you know, if you are an Arena fan, I think that's something that you definitely do want to see. Two of the top dogs going head-to-head. Zico, why did Super Frogs find so much momentum, though, in this one?
I think what it came down to in the previous game when they actually lost was towards the end of that one, Cubsy went away to get a drink, but I don't know what exactly happened, but he didn't get any mana from that drink. And then towards the end, the pressure from the move was just so high that he actually couldn't sneak away anymore for those drinks. In this match, though, he found opportunities to go for those drinks, and he didn't sit down for too long as well, which is an easy trap to fall into. He just drank a little bit, came in, and then kept doing that. And then towards the end here, when he has this big of a mana lead, we actually saw Super Frogs push in and just go across that pillar and just line of sight, because they have so much to work with here. It's such a big lead that you should just run over your opponent at this point. And there was just a couple of unfortunate things that happened prior to this as well. WizK gripped Peekaboo when he was stuck out in the open, and at the same time Chanimal did a really nice route onto Peekaboo, preventing that life grip from actually doing anything. Things like that forced out the void shift earlier on, and just small plays like that really did put Super Frogs ahead. The map is also a really big factor. Nagrand is a good map, but Ashamains is an even better map. It's a large map. I expect us to go to a small map in the next game.
Right? They typically are this team that they are going to play what they are strong at, and they are going to make it work. This is a major deviation from what we typically see from this squad.
Yeah, I mean, the move, we saw them swap out a few things here and there, but for the most part, what they swapped out would be WizK playing something different, maybe like a Feral or a Death Knight, and then bring in Jelly Beans. What we haven't seen in the past really is Peekaboo especially swap off of that Rogue. If they're going to play a different composition altogether, which was very, very rare, and they didn't find that much success with compared to their RPS, then Peekaboo would just be on the bench altogether. So this is completely new to even see Peekaboo pick up something else other than the Rogue. And we saw this composition, not exactly this matchup, but we saw, I guess, like a little bit of a preview yesterday of this matchup when Warrix went up against Plot Twist. We saw Dave trying to play that Death Knight with the Windwalker and try to take down Warrix. Similar idea here to what the move is implementing, and it didn't work out. They got 0-2'd, and then they had to swap things over.
I will say, though, as well, when we look at the move, if this is something that they can start to pull together early on in the year, all of a sudden they become an even bigger threat as they do move on throughout the entire tournament season. We saw the move be a team that did heat up, but the Super Frogs here are, I'm sure they're happy to potentially see a weakness in the move. They want to go further on in this tournament. They already have 120 points in the NA. They are going for that bag one more time.
I think this might be the first time in a tournament we see Peekaboo. He's played Shadow Priest in the past. Very rarely do we see Peekaboo, though, switch from his Rogue. So this is desperation for the move to try and find something to deal with this composition that the Super Frogs have basically stolen from the team of Storm. They saw how effective it was against the move in previous tournaments, and now have decided to take it their own and try to do it a step better. I think that the move are likely to go down in this match. It seems like their targeting is going to be Snuts playing at the pillar, allowing Snuts to overextend to attack a target, burst him down when he line of sights Cubsy. They can avoid Chaos Bolt and create pressure with this strategy, but if they only attack one player, Cubsy can maintain maximum heal over time effects on Snuts, play much more mana efficiently, and then that Flying Daggers build of Snuts is going to be even more valuable.
Yeah, the one advantage maybe Peekaboo does have in this matchup is he's so familiar with the Assassination Rogue that maybe he can come up with some sort of advantage to exploit the weakness, or come up with a strategy that he can use against Snuts, just given the amount of expertise he has on that class. Try to find a weakness. Definitely could be something that goes in their favor as the game goes on. But right now, Cubsy, he's just, look at him. He's so far away, comfortably sitting. He knows that Snuts and Chanimals are going to be building up a lot of pressure and momentum. Doesn't want to give the move any opportunities to make a swap. Peekaboo now eating a Chaos Ball, potentially a second, but WizK does interrupt it. And it seems like in this matchup, Super Frogs, they're going to be going after Peekaboo, trying to exploit him on the Windwalker Monk, but it really hasn't worked out too well so far.
So it may seem like a very small thing here where Cubsy is positioning his character, but by playing far back and away from the pillar. He's doing this because he's facing a Windwalker Monk and a Death Knight. Those are both melee classes with limited range on their spells, so they will have to run into the open to get to Cubsy in that room. And Cubsy's playing with a Warlock on his team, so when those classes run into the open, a Warlock is going to immediately target them down and burst them with giant Chaos Bolts. And it may seem like such a small thing, but positioning is everything when you are playing with a caster. Chanimal, though, gets gripped into the fray and takes a huge hit here by the move. Good setup. That banks some double defensive cooldowns from the lineup of the Super Frogs, and definitely showing that they've got some signs of life here.
Yeah, Peekaboo still has his touch of death. Like, these guys are doing a great job. Snuts gets swapped to. Good pressure from the move. The triple Maledict is what banked them. Both the Iron Bark and the Unending Resolve from Chanimals. If they can line that up once again, guess what, Chanimals, you don't have an Unending Resolve. So I want to see the move. Be patient with that go on the Chanimals. Make sure they get follow-up crowd control, incapacitate from Peekaboo, potentially a bash from Absurge. And if they can pull that off, I can see a win condition for them.
You see Chanimal backing off. He wants the Death Knight and Windwalker as far away from points of line of sight as possible so that if he can get in a couple Chaos Bolts, there's nowhere for them to run. And Peekaboo realizes he's getting baited out to the open and starts to pull back towards the balcony so that at least he can be in range of his Transcendence portal to escape to safety when required. Mana, I believe, is fairly, not actually even at all. The move have a lead there, and their pressure overall in this fight has been significant. Not a big fan of that bash by Absurge. I think he got a little bit excited. Snuts is around the corner. Let's go for the diminishing return stun, try and burst him down. But before dampening against a healer like Cubsy, especially on the Restoration Druid, it's just not going to happen. I would have much rather seen that bash on a different target. Now Cubsy realizes they're playing at the balcony. They want a line of sight. If they try to move forward and deny Cubsy from drinking where he currently is far away in the back in that room, they'll leave the points of line of sight that they can use to avoid Chanimals. So Cubsy with great positioning in this matchup to extend the fight.
Yeah, and he definitely is going to extend the fight by drinking to full, now using Innervate to catch up. So he drinks to full, immediately uses that Innervate, then he gets all his free healing, so he doesn't have to use any of that precious mana that he just got. Innervate timing going to be huge for both of the Restoration Druids in this matchup. Super Frog's looking healthy. Absurge has to sneak away for a drink. Snuts is going to chase in and shut that down. If Snuts can consistently do that, I do see Super Frogs having the mana advantage a little bit later on, but still the move with the triple Gladiator's Maledict, they can still take down Chanimal. Look for that push shortly.
All right, we do see some pressure starting to soften up the team of the move as 3 members dip to about 80% health. Chanimal currently has Dark Soul activated, boosting his Chaos Bolts for a huge margin. He fake casts the interrupt by using Fear. WizK falls for the bait and takes 2 Chaos Bolts to the face, but on that Unholy Death Knight with Death Strike, he just immediately heals himself back to full health. So Chanimal not getting the best of that exchange. Definitely before dampening, Peekaboo is a better target for those Chaos Bolts, but of course, as a Windwalker Monk, he's not making it easy for Chanimal to get those Chaos Bolts on him, but Snuts has set him up. WizK is going to deny the kill here with this anti-magic zone. Well placed. Maybe a Diffuse Magic. Yes, Diffuse Magic to remove that Maledict's Healing Absorb. That's the trade that we see Windwalkers making here in adaptation in the new meta with that new PvP trinket, the Gladiator's Maledict, which sends a Shadow Bolt to a target and absorbs a ton of healing. Windwalker Monks can talent into an ability called Diffuse Magic, which removes all magic effects on them, including the Gladiator's Maledict. So Peekaboo makes that trade quite efficiently and allows Absurge some breathing room. But Super Frogs have the positional advantage that Cubsy is utilizing every single time. He just runs very far from the fight, drinks out in the open, resets his mana pool. Absurge, I don't think, is going to have that same opportunity, and later in dampening, I think it's an inevitability here for the Super Frogs to take victory.
Yeah, Snuts moves forward, stops Absurge from getting out of combat. Chanimal's taking a little bit of pressure here from WizK and Peekaboo. Peekaboo making a swap. Nice Death Grip into a double leg sweep by the move. Good coordination there between Peekaboo and WizK, getting some damage rolling on Snuts and Cubsy. Cubsy able to escape. Snuts should be completely fine, but really Cubsy doesn't have too much to fall back on here. Good fear spam from Chanimals, freeing up Snuts just a little bit as Cubsy manages to land some heals. Still playing the Nourish, although the mana was increased. Cubsy's still going to be playing it, as it is a very effective heal for throughput.
And it synergizes well when you're playing with casters such as Chanimal on the Warlock. So if they're attacking Chanimal using all their interrupts to stop his damage, Nourish is a very slow but efficient heal, which you can then use because all the interrupts are focused on one of your teammates. The situations where you don't want to take Nourish is something like what Absterge is in, playing with a Windwalker and a Death Knight. Those classes don't cast very often, if ever, especially for the Death Knight, so Absterge needs quick instant heals. Peekaboo gets caught in a smoke bomb as Snuts tries to close this fight out at 12% dampening. They've got Absterge in a chokehold, completely strangled out on mana. He's got nothing left in the tank. Thankfully, at least he's got Innervate, but he needs to make sure that Chanimal doesn't snipe that with a Dispel from his Fell Hunter. Cubsy activates his Innervate to secure his advantage. Absterge activates his. Curious to see if the Fell Hunter is going to be able to dispel it off. It doesn't appear to be the case. Absterge gets a couple seconds to breathe.
Yep, definitely does. And Absterge actually intelligently, he put a heal over time effect on himself. That baited out the Dispel from the Fell Hunter and then was able to use the Innervate. So high-level plays from Absterge, really taking advantage of that Fell Hunter and the automatic Devour. Peekaboo now taking some damage with no Touch of Karma, no Fortifying Brew. Definitely a really good target for Chanimals and Snuts. And the longer this game goes on, Peekaboo and Whiskey, they're not going to be able to afford tanking out this damage very much. Absterge sits down for a drink. Beautiful Ring of Peace by Peekaboo to deny Snuts from actually shutting that down. That was a really good coordinated effort from the move to regenerate some of Absterge's mana.
Snuts is getting a lot of damage dished his way, makes a trade as Chanimal wants to reverse some pressure here. He's got those Infernals rolling. He's boosted his damage to the next Chaos Bolt. He's trying to fake cast the interrupts, but he doesn't fake Whiz-K out. That Chaos Bolt gets stalled. Chanimal looks to set up again. These Chaos Bolts need to be on Peekaboo. He connects one straight to the face. Is he going to get another one? Another Chaos Bolt being casted. Peekaboo needs to avoid these. That Chaos Bolt's going to chunk Peekaboo. That's going to cost Absterge a lot of mana. Peekaboo definitely needs to avoid more of those critical Chaos Bolts during Infernals. That's costing Absterge too much mana.
It definitely is. Whiz-K getting a little bit low here. Chanimal's Destruction Warlock damage really starting to sink in. Whiz-K and Peekaboo both not going to be able to heal themselves up quite as much. Double leg sweep once again from Peekaboo and Whiz-K with that Death Grip really setting him up. Chanimal's getting a little bit low as Cubsy gets away, and Paralysis is going to be used by Peekaboo to slow down some of the healing at 24% dampening. Things are getting spicy for both of these teams. Getting to be scary as Cubsy's a little bit low on mana as well as Absterge, and it's going to be difficult for them to actually sneak away and find these moments to reset their mana.
Let's look at cooldowns. Touch of Death available for Peekaboo. That red icon below his health, that does a ton of damage when it starts glowing. Snuts has Vendetta, also a red icon below Snuts' health. That does a lot of damage when it starts glowing, and both of them are available, so it might be a bit of a race to the finish. Snuts gets gripped around the corner, manages to escape to safety. Chanimal backs him up to reduce some pressure. They catch Absterge exposed in center field, and two Chaos Bolts lobbed over there, dealing tons of damage. Absterge with not much mana to recover, and Swift Mend is such a critical instant heal he had to use on himself. Now he doesn't have it for Peekaboo as they set up a swap. One more Chaos Bolt off the back end of that Mortal Coil. Whiz-K denies the kill with the Anti-Magic Zone, but dampening is too high. Absterge is struggling to stabilize the team, and Super Frogs are looking to close.
Yep, you can see Cubsy contributing with the Solar Wrath spam as well. Whiz-K forced to run away. Peekaboo as well in a lot of trouble as he runs behind the pillar, and Snuts is going to be feeling relatively safe, although caught into a leg sweep, could be in some trouble. Whiz-K also low. Peekaboo rotting down. Absterge no mana left. Snuts pulls the trigger on the Vendetta on Whiz-K with the full kitty shot. Absterge, you got nothing left. And Super Frogs claims game number 3 and shows that they can deal with this Windwalker Death Knight quite easily.
The maps have changed, the compositions have changed, but one thing has not changed over the past 2 games, and that is whose hands the driver's wheel is firmly in. The Super Frogs have all of the pressure yet again.
Yeah, Super Frogs, again, looking very, very strong on this composition. Cubsy finding opportunity after opportunity to go for those drinks, and that is the big reason why, of course, they managed to win there in the end. They have that mana lead, as you can see right here towards the end. Absterge has nothing left going for it, and for him, in terms of mana, Peekaboo, he still has his defensives, and Snuts does a great job here selecting Whiz-K as his target, knowing that Peekaboo still has some of those defensives left in his arsenal. That's all you really need. You can take down Whiz-K here with that Vendetta cooldown coming up right there being activated, and this is all off the back of I would say inexperience. I think they did a great job considering that they're not playing their mains here on the side of the move, but I want to see Absterge on that Resto Shaman. I think he would, even without drinking, be able to outmana Kabzi in this matchup. And the other thing is as well, Warlocks have Demon Armor, which makes them super tanky versus these melees, and you can see it right there, increasing his HP and increasing his armor by 275%. Now, over in Europe, Rezus likes to actually pick Tiger Eye Brew, which reduces your damage by 25%, but makes your damage nature damage, therefore bypassing armor. And that is actually a big reason to why he's able to put out so much pressure on these Warlocks. We also saw Chun-Li do that against Warlocks in last week over in NA.
Yeah, it seems like something that could be very strong, but basically what you're saying, just to kind of bring it home, is you actually could see this composition again if maybe they make that tweak, switch to nature damage so they can bypass the armor, and also we see Absterge go back on the Resto Shaman. If
Absterge goes Shaman and Peekaboo knows how to play with Tiger Eye Brew and he picks it, I think that they are in a huge advantage. I don't think they will lose.
Okay.
Even if they are on alts, I don't think they would lose.
Really? Okay, that's something very important to note when we do get into this draft. I didn't think I was going to hear you say that. I almost thought I was going to hear maybe we go back to a comp that they are more comfortable on. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Maybe we go back to the Rogue. Maybe we go back to the Shadow Priest. But do you agree here? You want to see them on this comp with those tweaks, with Absterge going back to where he's comfortable?
I think it would definitely be an interesting change. The additional damage from the Windwalker Monk. Then you have Absterge supporting you with more wind shears, more groundings. Might give you more freedom to actually push in and get a little bit more aggressive. One thing's for sure, if they play Shadow Priest, Rogue Shaman, I think they're going to lose. I think game number 1, they got a little lucky. Snuts wasn't necessarily playing the right talents. Game number 2 looked completely hopeless for him, and I think if they lock that in once again, that's what it's going to look like.
And that first game, too, think about how close it was. It looked like we were going to see Super Frogs take that first one as well. I think it is important to say, okay, maybe that first game, as exciting as it was one of the most exciting games I think we've seen today. Probably a bit of an outlier when you're trying to determine how the rest of the series is going to go. So Sid, going into this next one, what do you want to see change? What do you want to see the move actually try to use here to grab a W in Dalaran Sewers?
I'm not sure if they have the right tools in the current situation to actually pull this off. The adaptation that Zico is suggesting, I don't think it's something that a Windwalker Monk can kind of do out of nowhere. Tiger Eye Brew is definitely its own play style, and if you have no games on it at all, it can be difficult to juggle all of the stacks and activating it at the correct time or keeping its uptime efficiently. So I'm not sure if Peekaboo can do it as efficiently as possible. Maybe even, I mean, as strange as it sounds, maybe even Peekaboo staying on Rogue and playing Rogue Death Knight. Rogues can bypass armor as assassination with Rupture and Bleeds. He brings the Mortal Strike effect still as the Windwalker Monk. He can create split pressure. They can attack the Warlock and split some damage on Snuts at the same time. They have played, I believe, Rogue Death Knight in the past, but more so to run down healers. It actually might be good at running down the Resto Druid as well. It could be something they try if they're desperate, and this is really what I'm trying to do, is go through the things that I've seen them utilize in the past effectively and see what their best option is. None of them are really great, and I know that, but what is the best that they've got that they can realistically implement?
Well, all last year, Pika never played an alt on broadcast. All last year, nothing but Rogue. That was all that he played on broadcast. Now we are going to see him trying something different, and I want to go back to potentially seeing him go for that nature damage. Sid says it's something that's very hard to play, something that you're familiar with, and you also had a chance to queue with Pika. So what do you think about that decision? Do you think that it's something that he could be comfortable playing with?
I mean, it literally just comes down to pressing a button at the right time. I think he can handle it. It's just, you do need a little bit of reps, I guess, but basically all you do is you spend chi, you gain the Tiger Eye Brew stacks, and then after you summon your images, you use Tiger Eye Brew. It's as simple as that. So it's not necessarily as hard. If he has no experience, these games are going on long enough where I think he can get enough reps to pull it off.
World champion. Hey, how hard do you think it is to use that ability? I don't know. Press the button. Okay, Ben, thank you very much. We are going to see Peekaboo playing that alt again. Maybe he will opt into pressing that button this time around. I do want to talk about it, though, before we get into the match. Obviously, it's not something that we're going to see here. There is the potential to see it in a Game 5, though, if the move does take this. What do you think about Supatiz's very weird idea to potentially go for Rogue Death Knight? That's not something that we've talked about very much before. Do you think that's something that could work for the move?
Well, usually I don't agree with Supatiz's kind of curveball compositions or odd comps, but I think you're onto something. I don't like playing that comp and running down the Druid, but I think if they ran that comp, and they just sat on the Warlock as much as possible, maybe ran off a little bit defensive during the Infernals, they could potentially win on mana. Just the main thing that I wanted to see in this match that we unfortunately didn't see is the Resto Druid pick. I don't like it from Absterge. I want to see him on that Shaman. On the Shaman, he is just one of the best to do it, period. And I really think that even as a Shaman, even if you have 10%, 20% mana, and Cubsy has 80% mana, you can still get to a point where you've dragged the game on for deep enough dampening where something like a Rogue Death Knight or even the Windwalker Death Knight, of course, could just have so much pressure that Cubsy can't go and drink anymore, because if he does, there's a huge risk that Chanimal would just die to the dampening, to the pressure. So I think Absterge just should have been on that Resto Shaman no matter what they played, and I want to just see a cleave. Rogue Death Knight, Windwalker Death Knight, Survival Hunter Death Knight, anything.
Well, going into our fourth game, the move is no changes. We're going to see absolutely no changes here from them. How does Super Frogs close this one out? They've had nothing but momentum for the last 2 games. Just
need to play a solid defense once again. Snutsy just make sure he's doing a good job avoiding that off damage, which is what we saw. He sort of weaves in and out of Peekaboo and WizK, so he's not taking too much cleave from the Turbo Fist of Peekaboo. That's going to be saving Cubsy a little bit of mana. Cubsy, Chanimals, they need to make sure they're not overlapping, using the Demonic Gateway at right times, and just good offensive pressure from Snuts and Chanimals. And Cubsy really needs to realize the moments where he can go sneak away, get a Shadow Meld drink, and they're not going to be in too much trouble.
You heard it from Ven. You push the buttons and you win championships. Super Frogs on match point here. If they take Dalaran Sewers, they will send the move straight out of this tournament, and they will get to fight another day.
I would love to know if Peekaboo is ultimately running that Tiger Eye Brew here on match point, as the Super Frogs, you know, they lost game 1, but the move did it off the back ends of their Guardian Angels that sit there constantly managing to allow themselves to pull victory from what would be defeat for any other team. If it could be a team to do it, it would be the move, but they are now facing elimination. They need to win 2 more games in a row to stay alive.
Yeah, Peekaboo is not opting for that Tiger Eye Brew specialization, so his physical damage is going to be reduced quite a bit on Chanimals by that Demon Skin. It gives him, I believe, over 50% physical damage reduction with how much armor it has, so makes these Destruction Warlocks exceptionally tanky in these matchups. But when Peekaboo and WizK are sitting on Chanimals, they're doing more than just one thing. They're not just attacking him to take down his health, they're also trying to mitigate his damage as much as possible, slow down the fears, slow down the Chaos Bolts.
Oh!
It's really difficult.
Bye.
And goodbye.
That's what happens. They didn't stop it.
Chaos Bolt goes in from Chanimals, fully lined up with Infernals, with Dark Soul. I'm sure we'll get a replay on that game. I didn't expect it to end like that, but honestly, Chanimals just knocked it out of the park.
That's what happens. I mean, they made it look like it was really easy to heal through Chanimals throughout every single game because they perfectly stopped his casts. In that window, they didn't. WizK used Anti-Magic Zone and then Mind Freeze the Chaos Bolt while they had defense up. So there wasn't an interrupt after the defense ended. So a big mistake by WizK is going to cost the move the series.
All right, so yeah, right there, we saw already Peekaboo use his leg sweep here. He gets caught up in the kidney shot. Chanimal's gonna go for the fear onto Absterge, incinerate, spam. And he has his Infernals up right now. He's stacking up that damage, Cataclysms. He is getting kicked there on Cataclysm, which means that you can cast that Chaos Bolt.
There's
Chaos Bolt number 1 gets kicked with the Anti-Magic Zone, like Supertease pointed out. Now, at this point, it's a good moment to retreat if you are Peekaboo. I think, yeah, Peekaboo doesn't have his kick, and look at his timing now as well from Chanimal. He's gonna, I think, precast it. No, he's not even gonna precast it with the Anti-Magic Zone. There it is. Double coil kidney shot. There it is. Chaos Ball.
Boom.
Boom.
Goodbye.
You know what the best part about that was? Is Peekaboo, he is playing human and has every man for himself, but he was caught in a kidney shot and a coil, so he couldn't actually use the every man for himself, and that's why he died.
And Snuts had a nice follow-up cheap shot as well to make sure that that karma couldn't go through.
It's gonzo.
Finito.
Super slow motion, and I think it was still shorter than 10 seconds when we watched it the second time around. Not the move, and that's going to be the game that does send them home from the tournament. Pretty crazy to note. And also, they only had 40 points last week. Rough start for the move. This is a team, though, where we've seen them come back. We've seen them reverse sweep teams. We didn't even necessarily see them have the best start to last year, but when we look at this bracket, this is not going to be the best of days for them. one of the first teams to get sent home. We had the Rejects with Jamili and Rubkov. They get sent home first by Colo. Now the Super Frogs going to make quick work of the move. Never Lucky and Super Frogs going to move on to the lower quarters. But next up, we got our upper semi. So it's going to be Get Your Boy Dog versus For Fun. That's next. And then the boys versus Method Orange. And right now, I wonder if you are a team like Method Orange, you've made it further in this tournament than you did last week. They don't even make it to top 8 last week. Now they get at least that guaranteed top 6. I wonder if you're happier to see the move get knocked out, or if you're happier to see a team like Super Frogs get knocked out.
You want Super Frogs knocked out because they're the top point earners right now. So the move